In this lesson, we're going to discuss a few different methods that we have for beveling the inside corner of a polygon object. Alright, we're going to zoom in to this first one here, and you can see we have an object that's fairly blocky, but we do have an inside corner here. So if we want to bevel this object and hold all of these corners, we're going to end up with some issues right here in this inside corner. Alright, we do have an open end on the bottom, so we don't have to worry about all of that. But for this first one, I'm just going to grab the whole object, and I'm going to go to Edit Mesh, and I'm going to add a bevel to it. Go ahead and go into our options, and we'll do 2. And for an offset, or excuse me, for a fraction, maybe we'll do 0.1. So a nice tight bevel on there. Alright, so the bevel looks perfect. We do have a few extra faces down here that we should get rid of. And again, if you hit the 3 key, you can always see those faces down there. So if you miss one, don't worry, you're going to see it when you hit the 3 key on there. Alright, we'll delete all those. But what you'll notice about this one is, yeah, we do have perfect polygons here, but it's all running through the entire shape. And so that's something we're going to want to address. You know, what if we run into a situation where we're not allowed to have all this geometry to continue and flow all the way through there? Maya does a great job when you take those edges like this and run them all the way through the rest of the model. It's when we start not going through the model where Maya gets a little bit confused, and we kind of have to help it out a little bit. Alright, so method number 2 that we have is a method that would be referred to as fencing. So rather than adding a bevel on this, we're going to do the same configuration, but on this one, where we have our corner and we have one on each side, that's why we chose 2 on our bevel, we're just going to do those manually over here. I'll go to Mesh Tools, I'm going to grab my Insert Edge Loop tool, and I'm just going to place these a little bit more manually. Just trying to get even quads on those. And at this point, you don't really need to be amazingly crucial. You'll notice that it's pretty tough to tell if we've eyeballed these or not. Okay, we've got 3 over there. We need 3 there, and we need 3 there. So now we have the same basic configuration that we have here. They're just straight. They're making a perfect 90-degree corner as opposed to being rounded off right there. So let's hit the 3 key on this, and you can see that it's pretty tough to tell the difference between the 2 of these. We placed all of these ones manually. Now the problem that we would have with this one, it was very easy just to dump those edges in there. The problem that we have with this one is if we want our bevel to be bigger, then we're going to run into a scenario where we have to adjust all of these individually. And of course we're still eyeballing all of this information. It can be done, but it takes time, and we're not even really sure if this is going to be a good bevel or not. So you can see it's much bigger there now than it is there. So adjusting it after the fact is a little bit harder with this method, but it is easy to go in and just dump those edges in there very, very quickly. Alright, so now we know 2 different methods. Let's go and move on to the next one and talk about a scenario of what if we can't continue all of this geometry through. If we have to limit it to this area and not run it all the way through, we have to be able to do something with that. So on this one, I'm going to go ahead and grab all of these edges, and then I'm going to deselect the ones that I do not want a bevel on. So just the edges that we want to hold the form is what got selected. Alright, we're going to go to Edit Mesh, we're going to put a bevel on there. In the bevel, we'll do 2 sections again. And we'll do 0.1 on the fraction again, so it's the same size bevel as that one was. And you'll notice that Maya did a really, really great job. Let's go ahead and get rid of all these bottom faces first. So all of these extra ones, we'll just delete those. And we're going to zoom into this inside corner here. This is where Maya has a little bit of a hard time with this. So you'll notice that we do have one big face, kind of looks like a butterfly here right in the middle, which is a big n-gon, and it's covering up stuff that's underneath it. So we need to delete that. And we also have this one right here that doesn't necessarily flow with the rest of the geometry. And then we have this open triangle right here. So let's get rid of this one that doesn't really make any sense to us. And let's see what we can do to make this bevel look a little bit better. I'm going to grab this whole edge running all the way through here. And I'm going to go to my move tool. And I'm going to start it moving in this direction. I want to line it up with this edge right here. So by moving it, you'll notice that this handle turned from blue going down the z-axis, and it changed it to yellow, letting us know that we are constrained in that motion right now. We cannot move these any other direction in y or x. It's going to stay on the z-axis. Then I'm going to hold down the V key, V for Victor, and I'm going to middle mouse just kind of click and wiggle over this one. And notice it lined it up perfectly. I can do that again if I go and grab this vert. I can get it moving in that direction. Turn the handle yellow, hold down V, snap it to that. And now you can see we have a perfect flow of edges going from here all the way around. Alright, let's zoom in here and we'll do the same on these ones. So we'll get this guy snapped into there, and we'll get that edge snapped to that one. Alright, one last point that we want to talk about here, that's going to be this one. You'll notice that it's dipping down a little bit as it's going through the corner. So we're going to grab this handle this time, we're going to snap it to this one, and that will give us a perfect configuration all the way around the corner there. We just have this end gone that we need to deal with. Alright, let's go ahead and fix this. We have a couple of different ways that we can go about this. I'm going to go ahead and grab my multi-cut tool again. And for this first one, I'm just going to drag a point to the corner there. And then I'm going to come over here. And this one I'm going to hold down Shift and I'm going to snap it at 50% right there. Alright, then we need to fill this in. So I'm going to go to Edit, I'm going to go to Mesh Tools. And I'm going to grab my Append to Poly tool. And I'm going to click on those two, and then I'm going to click on those two to fill those in. Now let's go to our top view, and you can see that we've got this edge coming in, and we want to keep it on that edge. So this time, instead of holding down V to snap to point, we're going to hold down C to snap to curve. And I'm going to middle mouse drag somewhere back here on this edge, and you can see that it constrains it to that now. I can't move off of where that edge is. So you want to move this down until you get some nice, perfect parallel lines. We have parallel lines there and there, there. So we just want to make sure all of this is parallel running through there. Alright, now you can see that we have a perfect corner turning here. Now, one thing that you might not want to do is you might not want to carry this geometry all the way back to there. In the last lesson we talked about containing all of that information in an area that's not on a bevel. So when I hit 3, you can see that it does tweak our bevel a little bit right here. But this is very, very easy to fix. We'll go ahead and delete that edge that we made. And I actually just hit delete. I didn't do a control delete, so it did leave the vertices behind. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of splits in this surface. So I'll go back to my multi-cut tool, and let's place one right there, and right there, and there, and there. Now we can go in and make these look a little bit better, a little more evenly spaced if we want, and that's fine. Maybe bring this one down just a little bit. Alright, so this is what we're left with. And now what we can do here is we can grab our multi-cut tool again, and we can just go from that point to that point. And now we have this contained in this area right here. We only put this one right here just to keep these equal, because essentially we are adding tension to this corner right here and that corner right there. So if we didn't put this line in there, then we would have different tension on both of those. Alright, so there is a look at a couple of different ways we can deal with the geometry on an inside corner of an object when Maya gets a little bit confused. It's not really tough to go in and fix this information, and it looks really great. But if we have to contain it in an area like this, you may just end up having to do a little bit of manual work to get those areas fixed. See you in the next lesson.